One of the issues related to the who created the creator is this, that Richard Dawkins, and it's the heart of his argument in chapter 4, I think, of his book, he says that God is clearly no solution to any question because, by definition, God is more complex than the thing you're trying to explain. So that's absurd. And I want to say, no, it is not absurd. That in ordinary life we're used to this all the time. And the illustration I often give is that if in a cave in China we find 2 scratches, simply 2 scratches, and the Chinese archaeologist explains human intelligence, and I say, but don't be ridiculous, those are only 2 scratches. You're postulating a human mind to explain them. The human mind's far more complex than those 2 scratches, so your explanation is no explanation at all. Now, she might well say, look, those 2 scratches form a Chinese character, which means a human being, the Chinese character Hun. And because the scratches are semiotic, they carry meaning, they're signs, the only explanation that makes sense is in terms of something much more complicated than them. So in itself, the idea that an explanation cannot be more complex than the thing that's being explained is simply false. If you and I went to the planet Mars and as we came into land we saw little piles of titanium cubes, perfectly formed, and the first pile had 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, and so on in prime ascending order, we'd know immediately that an intelligence was responsible for it. We wouldn't know which intelligence, but we know that that intelligence is far more complex than those cubes. So the thing that Dawkins seems to be refusing to allow is the fact that an explanation can lead you upwards in complexity. Also, I'd want to say that explanations can become increasingly complex. You think of a falling apple and its first description in terms of Newton's law of gravitation. Well, already many people won't follow that. But if I then start describing it that actually Newton wasn't quite right, Einstein came along and said it's due to warping in space-time, that's left most people miles behind. So the explanation is actually getting more complex. And for some fundamental things at the quantum level, we have theories like quantum mechanics and even more so quantum electrodynamics that are horrendously complicated. But people believe in them, not because they're simple, they're not simple, but because simplicity is not the only criterion of truth.